Welcome back to All the Cars I've Loved Before, the only podcast that shares life lessons through the rearview mirror of your favorite cars. It's time to get a little grease under your nails, grab your favorite car-themed t-shirt or hat, jump into our DeLorean time machine, and get it up to 88 miles per hour. You get back to that sense of pure freedom, windows down, music pegged, and your best friends piled in the back. Every car tells a story, whether it's a forgotten beater or the one that got away. We're diving into the personal history behind the metal. So let's get into it. I am Doug, and I am going solo without my wonderful co-host Dave today. And we want to thank today's sponsor, Car Curious. Car Curious, available at getcarcurious.com, is a free automotive podcast player with synced annotations. It explains every car, every part, and automotive term in the transcript of our podcast and links them to the exact timestamp so you can jump straight to it to learn about that unique Porsche 993 or Chrysler A-Body. And our podcast uses Car Curious web player. You can test drive it right here, carslove.com/listen. And in addition to our show, they have 200 plus podcasts, 2,500 plus cars, and 340,000 moments explained. Best of all, it's free. So try Car Curious today. Get carcurious.com or again on our web player, carslove.com/listen. And moving on to reviews. People like to ask me, what is the best way to support the show? Honestly, just leaving a review is the best way, and it's a big help, and we love to read them on the air. Here's a recent one we just got in from Barry W96. Barry says, I love how this show doesn't talk specs and is focused on the stories behind the machines. I look forward to every Torque Tuesday for new episodes. Well, thank you, Barry. We appreciate the kind words. And moving right on to our guest. This is a great story. Sometimes you can work alongside someone for a while and not know that you share some of the same hobbies. This is exactly what happened with today's guest. He has been a car enthusiast since he was about 5 years old, and that passion has never let up. Over the years, he's owned 33 different vehicles, each with its own story. But there's one dream car that stayed on top of his list, a 1968 Dodge Charger RT. So whether it's classic metal, wrenching in the garage, or talking horsepower, he's always up for a good automotive conversation. And as for that 68 Charger, he said he's going to be chasing it for the rest of his life. So with that said, Tony Funk, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Doug, thanks. I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing great, man. Great to have you here. Second time we're talking today, earlier time on a work-related call. So this is much more fun.
Indeed.
Yeah. So tell us, Tony, before we jump into all your cars, and there are many, 33 plus, that you got me beat. How did you get into cars?
Well, growing up, my mom's second husband worked in a body shop, and he had a 69 Pontiac Firebird. This is late 70s, early 80s. The thing back then was, shackle them up and put some big wide tires on them. And, every time you leave a red light, you just leave a couple black marks on the road. And that just kind of, it hooked me.
And the shackling them up, that's reference to the leaf springs, correct? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
For our listeners, leaf springs were I think they probably still exist maybe on some very antiquated design vehicles, right? But they've been around for a long time just as a suspension component. So Tony, I have to ask you before we get into cars and trivia, since you do like the podcast, or at least you say you do, so you could get on the show, which we're happy to have you. What was one or two of your favorite episodes?
Well, I enjoyed the WRX podcast because, I also own a WRX, and, in preparation for tonight, I listened to a couple other episodes. The one we talked about a little bit earlier today, your entrepreneurial friend who created that, Freedom Top storage, or is in the process of creating them. And I listened to about half of another one, but I don't remember which one that was, to be honest with you. I think it was a Porsche one and the Corvette, perhaps.
Okay.
I enjoyed those two probably the most so far, and there's a lot to listen to.
I think we have over 90 recorded, and I think 84 are out at the time of this recording. So that's a lot in 2 years. So yeah, we're just going to keep it going, and we like to mix it up. So this will be fun. So we're going to jump in. I have a trivia question, and you will probably know the answer. And for folks that want to see what Tony looks like, that'll be some tie-in to the story or the trivia question itself, but we'll hold the answer for later. So, Tony, in the early 1980s, ZZ Top frontman Billy Gibbons commissioned a chopped cherry red hot rod that would become a global cultural phenomenon. What is the name of this 1933 Ford, and what surprisingly rival engine hides under its classic Ford hood? We'll hold off, but I'm sure you know the answer, but we'll hold off. And for everybody's listening, Tony and I are about the same age. We're both children in the 70s, but we remember the 80s really well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, best decade ever, in my opinion. Speaking of 80s, what was your first car, Tony?
So it just happens to be a 1980 Dodge Murata.
Okay.
Brown. I don't know what people were thinking in the 80s, but I owned 2 cars from the 80s and both of them were brown.
Yeah, brown was a color. Porsche had a brown. Everybody had a brown. Tell us about the Murata, and of course, Car Curious is going to link all this stuff. And for people who haven't heard about the Murata, you can read about it, of course, online, but you can read about it on our web player, carslove.com/listen. But with that, the Murata is an interesting car. Tell us all about it, Tony.
So I was, 16, out looking for my first ride, and my grandfather helped me get the vehicle. Kind
Okay.
of one of those I'll buy it and you pay me deals.
Nice.
Interior wise, cars back then, the headliners are notorious for sagging. So we tore the interior apart, redid the headliner, the package tray up where the rear speakers are, fixed the interior up, did a whole lot of carburetor tuning, and got it running perfect. I was on my way home from work one night, and I was sitting at a red light with my best friend, whose name happened to be Tony as well.
Okay. 2 Tonys.
Yeah, look up in the rearview mirror, and I told him, I said, "Dude," I said, "you better hold on." And we got rear-ended by like a 78, 79 F-150 going probably about 50 miles an hour, and we were sitting at a red light. They hit me so hard. There's a brand new Chevy S10 in front of me. Still had the temporary tags on it. I hit him so hard, his spare tire come out from underneath his truck, and it was behind the guy that hit me.
Wow.
So needless to say, I only had that car for about 3.5, 4 months.
Oh,
And
man. Yeah.
so I never really truly got to experience or, play around or modify it or do any of those things that a young kid in the, early 90s would, do.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it had a stereo in it though, right?
I don't
That's
even
one of
think
the
I got
first things. Oh,
I
you did?
don't think I even got that far.
Oh, man. So
I was never really into the
no?
kicking stereos and music.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, it's funny how that's changed so much just with the advent of like really amazing stereos coming from the factory that are also difficult to upgrade in today's world. But so the Murata, that was a rear-wheel drive V8. Was it a stick shift automatic?
No, it was an automatic.
Okay. And it's pretty
It was. I look
yeah.
at it as like a poor man's Chrysler Imperial or something along those lines.
Had velour seating. Velour
It
probably?
did.
Was it red velour, dark red?
No, it was like a camel tan.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Those were the times. My dad always had Oldsmobiles and they seemed to have that dark red velour. Very comfortable.
My grandfather was a huge Olds Delta 88 fan, and every
Yep.
single one of them had that same red interior.
Yeah, it's funny. And do you remember the vinyl interiors? They would get so hot, like you could practically burning yourself getting into those cars. They were so bad. And then the metal seat belts. Remember, like the whole seatbelt was metal. Just oh man.
Yeah, I do have the 70 Dart, which
That's right. Well, we're gonna get
vi
to that.
vinyl seats and
Yep.
those very hot metal belt buckles.
And a black car as well, right?
Yeah,
Even
you got
better.
it.
So sorry about that car. Sounded like it was sounded
You know, the
pretty traumatic.
the important thing is, and I wouldn't have said this back then, nobody was hurt. Everybody walked away, and that's all that truly, really matters. Cars can be replaced, people can't.
For sure. Thank goodness nobody was injured and yourself included. So what replaced the Dodge?
Oh, I'm embarrassed to say this, but a 1983 Ford Escort, four-door,
Okay.
burgundy red,
Mhm.
porno red interior, one of the ugliest cars I have ever seen. And that term, Doug, is it's very common in the Fox body Mustang world
Okay.
when it comes to that color red.
Porno red.
They the Fox body enthusiasts will call it porno red.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
Yeah.
going to be synced up with Get Car Curious because that's a
Well,
new term for
I
me.
hope nobody goes and looks that up. I'd be afraid to see what comes up.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it'll figure it out. It's a Fox buddy red. I got to tell my Mustang buddy that one, see if he knows it. But so that car was maybe not one of your favorites, but for like those cars were like that was the best selling car in America for a while, I think, until the Taurus came out, right?
It was, if nothing else, it sure was a reliable car. I think I got that car in probably 88 and I drove it until 92, and I'm willing to bet I put 40, 50, maybe even 60,000 miles on that car.
Okay.
So, and it never let me set.
Okay. Cool. Cool. It was just your basic roll up window.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nothing. Power steering.
No AC. Ooh. Where were you living at the time?
I was in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, wintertime, not so bad.
Yep.
Summertime was almost unbearable some
Yep.
days, especially
Yeah,
when humidity got really, really high.
for sure. Yeah, that's something people these days, my kids' age, right? They're like, cars didn't come with air conditioning? What? Or my son and I were joking. I said, I'm like, Ryland, do you think, people survived without air conditioning? He's like, I don't think I could have made it. Thank goodness I was born when I was born in 2011.
Yeah, I remember telling one of my kids, I don't remember which one, they were obviously super young, and it's like, "Hey, roll the window." "Dad, why do you say roll the window down?"
Mm.
"Oh, because in the old days, you had to crank the windows manually. There wasn't a button to push."
One of those things. Yeah. I don't even know if my daughter ever rolls down her window at all. She just got the AC blast. But
That's me these days.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So speaking of these days, and actually before, I want to talk about one of your other Fords that you sent me a picture of, and there's a great story around it. Tell us about the Mustang,
So,
83 Mustang, right?
my wife would disagree that it's a great story.
I think it's a good one.
She would probably call it a nightmare, but so I wanna say it was back in about 2003, 2004. I was living down here in North Carolina, the off of 17, I guess you could say. I'm not gonna say exactly where, but I was on my way home from work one day, and I see this Mustang going down the highway in front of me, and seen on the side of the spoiler, it said GT Turbo. And in back of my mind, I'm like, they only made that car for 2 years. There ain't no way that's a real GT Turbo. So, and I mean, at the time, I had an 85 Mustang, an 86 Mustang, both GTs. I had a 90 notchback. I probably had 4 Mustangs sitting in a 2.5 car garage.
Okay.
And I flagged this guy down and it's like, "Hey, would you be interested in selling that car?" He's like, "Yeah, you give me 4 grand, you can have it." Well, this is 2003. 4 grand was, for me, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass, but here's my number if you ever decide to get rid of it." And probably about, I wanna say 6, 8 months later, I picked up one of those, Auto Trader, newspaper type.
Yeah, they'd sell them at 7-Eleven,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I picked one up and I'm scrolling through there and I see this ad. It says 1984 Mustang Turbo. And I was like, there can't be too many of those around. And the one I looked at, the guy I chased down, it was an 83.
Okay.
So I pick up the phone, I call the number, and as soon as the guy answered, a voice you'll never forget. It's kind of raspy. I knew it was him, same guy.
Okay.
And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, I was running down the bypass about 6 months ago. And I was driving this. I flagged you down." He's like, "Oh, I remember you." I said, "Is your price firm?" He was asking $2,200 for it.
So he'd come down a little bit.
He come down to earth, yeah, on his
Yeah.
price. And I was like, "I'm gonna load my car trailer up. I will come give you cash for the car tomorrow." It's like, "All right." So I go pick the car up. I load it on the trailer, gives me the title, I give him the cash, whatever. And I come down here and I get all the title work done. I get back to the house and I'm unloading the car. And luckily it was a tilt deck trailer. So, tilt the deck, roll the car into the garage. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to change the oil. I don't know the history of the car, so I want to give it its best chance.
Right.
And I get the car off the trailer and I look on the deck of the trailer and I have a puddle of oil that is probably, I don't know, probably 2.5 quarts of oil laying on the wooden deck of the trailer. I was like, oh no, he got me. Well, after, a little bit of investigation, it was nothing more than a $7 oil pressure sending unit.
Okay.
So replaced that. Car run great for probably 5, 6 years. I didn't drive it all the time. I just drove it when it was nice out.
Mhm.
The whole 9 yards. And it is, I want to say I had a Marty report run on it, and there's like 83 T turbos that come with in that particular color. The car was a radio delete car, which is strange, but it also had AC, which is even stranger. Somebody
Yeah.
ordered AC, but they don't order a radio. So I don't know what that person was thinking, mind you, I got 3 at the time, probably 1, 2, had 4 other Mustangs sitting in the garage. So it wasn't really a priority. I don't want to drive this one all the time. It's
Mhm.
extremely rare car, a little over 100,000 miles on it. And, fast forward a couple years and, I put a new cam in it. I did a little bit of work to it. And my ex-wife and I were separated. I was selling my house down here in Carolina and I was moving back up into Virginia. And my now wife, the house she lived in, she didn't have a garage, but she had a huge backyard. I would say from the back of the house out to, the back of the property was probably about a little over a third of an acre. So, I mean, pretty big yard. I set the
Mhm.
car right in the middle of the yard. Ain't nothing going to happen to the car sitting in the middle of the yard.
Right.
I'll be damned if a hurricane didn't come through. And probably the oldest tree in the yard comes down in that hurricane. And the top limbs of that tree took
Mhm.
out the roof, the windshield, the quarter panels on the car. I gave the car away. I was a regular on the forum, foureyepride.com. It's a enthusiast, back when forums were the big thing, right? It was solely for the 79 to 86 Fox body platform Mustangs.
And what was the forum called again? Four-Eyed Pride.
Yep.
Okay. Was
So
the
79 through 86, they had the 4 headlights
Yeah,
across.
yeah. I actually had a 79 briefly, and you're reminding me of that. I forgot about it. I bought it for 400 and sold it for 1,200.
Nice.
Yeah. It had the 2.8, the Euro PN V6. So, yeah.
So I go on Four-Eyed Pride, told the story. I was like,
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody would park the car out, but I'm done. It's like I got this. I got an 86 Capri. I put
Oh, Capri too.
I put a Cobra IRS in the car. It was a roller, but it was solid, no rust. And this guy from North Carolina, he sent somebody and picked up both cars, handed the titles over. It's like, I'm done. I'm done with this car. And then it was right after or right before COVID. I'd have to look back to see. I get a message on Facebook Messenger from this young kid down, south of Danville, Virginia. Like, he's really professional. He's like, Mr. Funk, did you used to own an 83 Mustang turbo car? I was like, I did. He says, would you like to have it back? I was like, well, this must be a sign that this car belongs to me. And my wife and I, we, go rent a U-Haul trailer. We go pick the car up, and I'll be damned if the title's not still in my name.
Never got retitled. Huh. Wow.
6 years after getting rid of it, the car comes back to me. Title still in my name. My signature still on the title. The guy I gave it to just never put it in his name. So I got it back and was like, all right, well, this is a sign. So I sent it up to a shop in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I had it put on the frame machine. They straightened out the frame, the quarters, put a new roof skin on it, new windshield in it. And, it's multicolored. And now I need to find a hood for it. But I'm going to, I got a standalone EFI system for it because 83 Ford wiring is brittle and it just doesn't hold up. So the stock wiring harness is trash. I got, we're going to get there. Maybe
Yeah,
come down, help me work on it.
I'd love to see it. I'll help however I can. So for our listeners, and you had told me this, but I want to make sure I have it right. So better coming from the horse's mouth. Oh, I just got it. I made a joke about the Mustang. I didn't even realize it. So when did the 5.0 come out? And were they making the turbo alongside the 5.0 at the same time? And then there's also something called the SVO, which was also a turbo. Can you talk through that for us?
Okay. So in the Fox body era, 1982 was the first year that the Mustang.
Was that the pace
And
car year?
no, that was 79. But in 1982, I think Ford's big slogan was "The boss is back." But
Got
that was when the Mustang come back in the Fox body platform. That was in 82, and it's running through today, right? Has not stopped since 82. In 1983, I don't know what Ford was thinking, but if based off of what I've learned about this particular car, and I did own an 84 SVO also.
Okay.
Very familiar with those. The ECU or the ECM and all of the wiring in this particular car in 83, it was standalone. So it wasn't connected into the main body harness. It's almost like it was an afterthought. The the ECM sits underneath the passenger side seat, whereas in 84, everything went into the kick panel on the passenger side. There's no provision for me to put that computer in the kick panel like the 84 and later cars. The 83s were, they were non-integral. I want to say it was like 135, 140 horsepower. A lot to, leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to horsepower, right? It wasn't a super fast car at all, but it was a light car. I want to say the car weighs probably 2,300 pounds fully dressed.
Right.
So, and then in 84, the turbo was also in the lineup, but sitting next to it was the European styled SVO Mustang, which had the same drivetrain with the exception of they bolted an intercooler onto it and quite a bit more horsepower than the standard GT Turbo.
Turbo was a 2-year car, 83 and 84.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And I want to say, so in addition to in 84, there was also anniversary cars, both convertible and non-convertible. They were the anniversary edition GT 350s that got the Mustang GT Turbo drivetrain, but they weren't turbo. I guess they were. I don't know. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they were the anniversary decals, the Oxford white and, or whatever color it was in the maroon decals.
Got it. Wow. For somebody who's, is it fair to say, I think it's fair to say you're an American car guy for the most part, minus the Subaru, probably.
I like them all.
You like them all. Yeah.
I don't like the trucks that are squatted, right? But
Right.
another car on my short list is right there behind, that little Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
I would love to have a Bug.
Yeah, man. I had an opportunity to buy one. I want to say it was a 65 convertible, and I relied a lot on my dad back then. And he's just said, I don't know anything about Volkswagens. And of course, Volkswagen is the simplest car in the world, right? But what a neat car that would have been to have.
Yeah, I was looking at one before I bought this start. In fact, when we spent all that time out in San Diego last year, I would get on Facebook Marketplace and see if there was anything within the vicinity of where we were. It's like, I can buy something here and just ship it back.
Yeah. You didn't have any luck with that though, right?
I didn't find any time to go out and look at them. I found quite a few.
Yeah, we were pretty busy.
Yeah,
18-hour days. But yeah, I love going to San Diego or just California because like I just randomly see a, I don't know, 68 Mustang just on the, in a parking lot, right? Rust. Yep. Sun faded, but yeah, car, that's the place to go. You good thinking, man. Maybe next time. Got to build in some time. So speaking of cool cars and cars you just got, tell us about your most recent acquisition.
Oh, this one was a headache, Doug.
It's
So
a beautiful car.
So, I mean, as you kick the show off, you mentioned, '68 Charger RT, right? That's since I was 17 years old. That's always the car I've been chasing. But a close runner up to the B body platform, old Mopars, are the A bodies. My best friend growing up had a 70 as a burnt orange. It was a Dodge Dart Swinger. And I remember telling him I was like 16. He was 4 years older than me. So, I had quite the little collection before I could even drive. And I told him, I was like, I want to buy this Dart off of you when I start driving. He's like, okay. I was looking around for probably, 3, 4 months, and I'd see 67s, 68s, 69s, which 68s is ideal for me because they don't have the cowl vents. You don't have to worry about them rotting out. But you also have that lever to pull to get fresh air in through the cowl panel, like the vent back on vent and the air will come through. I went and looked at a 68 Dart the day I made the deal on the one I purchased. And if somebody hadn't cut the quarter panels to roll the fenders to fit wider tires, I probably have a 68 Dart, not a 70.
Got it.
But the wheelhouse and the quarter panel were kind of not connected, and I didn't want to buy a car that I have to send to a body shop. I want something that's pretty solid. A little bit of this, a little bit of that's one thing, but I don't want to get into having to completely restore another car. So I found this 70. I'm going to call it a swinger tribute car.
Okay.
Looking at it, you would think that, oh, it's a 340 Dart. It has the 340 engine and this, that, and everything else. But in reality, the car started off as like a baby blue, bottom of the line, white vinyl top, bench seat, slant-six, single barrel carburetor, Dodge Dart.
Okay.
Somebody throughout the course of time decided they were going to do a swinger tribute car. They did a really good job. It's got, they replaced the floors, or at least a section of the floors where the shifter comes through. It's got a 4-speed in it. They got a legit dash out of the rally dash out of a 340 swinger car. They put the hood scoops on the hood. They put the little white bumblebee stripe in the back, the right rally wheels. Looking at the car, you would think, that is a legit Dart swinger. It's not. So I don't mind changing things, right?
Right.
360, 40 over. It's got a mild cam in it, 3 2-barrel carburetors sitting on top, which need to be tuned. A little bit of an oil leak coming out of the back of the intake manifold, but the wrong shifter is in the car. I put a B-body console pistol grip in it that every time you go to put it in reverse, you're hitting the steering wheel. So I did fix that. I put an E-body pistol grip shifter into the car, rebuilt all the mechanisms for the shifter. But, as I had told you, I bought that car in Virginia. And when you purchase a car that old and you try to title it, in North Carolina is required to do an inspection on the car. And you would think, being a car guy, that I would have had a little more common sense to validate things a little more thoroughly than I did. So the VIN tag, remember I mentioned they put the rally dash in the car?
Right.
Well, they pulled the VIN plate off of the original dash, which would have been one of the ones that, just a needle that sweeps from the right side to the left side of the dash instead of like individual little round gauges. And when they reattached that VIN plate to the dashboard, they use just standard, go to Home Depot, buy some aluminum pop rivets, and they pop riveted that to the dash. So when the North Carolina troopers come out to do an inspection on the car to make sure that it wasn't stolen, they quickly realized that those aren't the right rivets holding that VIN plate to the dash.
And
All right.
these guys are car guys then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of their training that maybe they got hired because they like cars. And you were telling me the original rivets are Pentastar.
They are a 5-sided rivet. They are.
Yeah, pretty unique. And they knew right away.
And the fender tag was there, the car's repainted, so the door tag's gone. That could have validated the car. So he requested to find the hidden body stamp on the car. Well, let me tell you, I learned a whole lot about how Chrysler did things at the Windsor, Ontario plant in 1970.
Okay.
It's enough to make your head hurt. So the hidden body number, it should start out with R for the Romeo plant and then the sequence number. My car was 77632 off the assembly line out of that plant. And the VIN tag is 177632 because that first character is never a zero. For the sequence number, it always starts with a one. So you look at it, an old Chrysler like that, it's like, okay, so this means up to 100,000 cars. Well, the hidden number in the trunk was 077632. Five of the six numbers match. The
Yeah.
logic of it being car number, 77632 matches the trunk, but it doesn't match that one on the actual VIN plate. So, North Carolina DMV is like, nope. I reached out to Galen. Galen's tag service. He's a Mopar historian. I've tried reaching out to everybody that I could think of that knows how things were done in that era. And, I got his contact info. And next thing I know, the North Carolina State Troopers called me and they said, we validated all of your stuff and your title's being released.
Sweet.
So it's 8 weeks of stress. Do I have to
Yeah.
return this car? Am I going to fight to get my money back? Well, let me just tell you that I have a box on my desk and I have the correct rivets for that VIN plate. So
Right.
at some point in time, probably when I work on putting AC in the car, I'm going to have those replaced. That way nobody else has to deal with it.
Right. And obviously unique to North Carolina, but are you aware of any other states that have similar level of introspection?
Oh man, I hope not.
Me too. That's reason enough for me not want to go down there because I had to. I fixed my dash and I had to remove the original rivets too. It was a DeLorean, so hopefully it was just whatever rivet. I used a Home Depot rivet, just like you said.
Well, I have learned that the way that a lot of these like restoration shops, they do that, they'll get in behind it with like a pair of dikes and they will squeeze that rivet out or they'll squeeze it together so it fits back out through the hole. And then when they're done, they take a small punch and they stick it down through the rivet. And they just, they'll push those sides back out and they'll reuse the original rivets.
Yeah. Smart.
I don't know. All I can say is anybody out there that wants to buy an old Mopar, check your VIN plate, make sure the Pentastar rivets are there and they're not like bright aluminum.
And that was common in all of those from that era.
Oh, I think they're common up to this day. I think if I went out and looked at my 2018 Ram, I think I would have the same five-sided rivets on that VIN plate.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, Tony, you could maybe make a small fortune consulting on these type of things with this experience.
Yeah, I'm not professional enough for anybody to want my expertise.
Well, I would refer you to anybody. How many cars do you own now? Probably 5, maybe?
Right now, yeah, I still got the 83 Mustang. I got this Dodge Dart, my wife's Tacoma, 2020 Tacoma, powered by 3 hamsters.
3? Only 3?
And a ferret.
It's pretty slow, huh?
Yeah, it is. I got one of the very last manual transmission Dodge trucks, 2018 Ram 3500.
Okay.
And, my daily beater, I got a 23 WRX.
Okay.
That I put some work into, stage 2, about 350 to the wheel.
Nice.
Fun little car.
Yeah. Which, do you have a favorite?
I'm a hermit, man. I don't really go anywhere. So
Okay.
I would say my favorite is my least favorite.
Okay.
We take my wife's truck a lot of the places that we go.
Gotcha. Maybe it has the best air conditioning.
That it does.
Okay, that'll do it. And probably most reliable. But yeah, WRX, popular. They still make them with stick shifts, so they're going to remain popular with enthusiasts for a long time.
They will. And probably the newest car that I will ever own.
Yeah, it's a neat car and very different. Polar opposite from the Dodge, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It probably runs circles around the Dodge, though, too.
That too. Of course. Wow. Does the Dodge... Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, I didn't buy the Dodge to go tear up the streets.
No. Do your neighbors like it?
I don't know my neighbors.
Oh, okay. That's good. I'm joking because it's probably pretty loud, right?
Well, the neighbors across the street have a four-wheeler that has no exhaust on it, so
Okay.
you can hear from about a mile away, so I'm sure
Okay.
they can find it.
So yeah, you guys are minding your own business. That's the way to do it.
You got it.
Very, very cool. So, of all these cars, and we always like to ask this question if there's enough time, what's the one that got away? Well, we know you're still hunting for the 68, but what's the car you wish you could buy back? You gave us two answers. I'd love to hear both of them.
Which one would I like to buy back?
Yeah, since you already bought back the Mustang.
So that's a tough one because I think in the intake forum I said it was a 94 Mustang because it gave me freedom all over Southern California when I was stationed in 29 Palms.
Okay.
But it would be a toss up between that and the 1960 Dodge pickup that I had at the same time.
Okay.
I regret getting rid of that one, but
Yeah.
I getting rid of the Mustang too, so.
So, yeah, not that long ago.
No, I PCS, so I couldn't take two with me, so I sold it to another Marine.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've
Cool,
tried to
man.
buy it back, but he won't sell it.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Just it happens, right? You're living proof. Well, what is so we know the 68 Chargers next on the list. If you see it, it could happen.
I'm gonna need a job like yours, Doug, for me to even afford something like that.
Or a bigger garage at least.
Oh, I'll put the tractor outside. I'll find a
Okay.
space for it.
Okay.
Yeah, the price tag on them's a little hefty. I don't know that I could ever justify spending $100,000 on a vehicle.
Wow. That's what they're going for.
The one I want, yeah.
Yeah. We're from the same time period, but I don't remember. What was the Dukes of Hazzard Charger? Was that a 70?
69.
69. Okay. Gotcha. They destroyed a lot of cars, didn't they? And I think it's with Mopar folks, right? It's a little upsetting, right?
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
How many cars did they go through? Do you know?
I don't even wanna take a guess at that.
Okay. It was a lot. That's all I know. So,
Yeah, I think there was like 8 seasons of that show, maybe?
yeah,
7 seasons?
for sure. But yeah, that was the show until Knight Rider came out. So, I think it was Knight Rider, but I'm going to go with Knight Rider, but
Yeah, it works for me.
it was a good transition. So, with all that, we're going to loop back to our trivia question. And just to restate the question, in the early 80s, ZZ Top frontman Billy Gibbons, who Tony has a passing resemblance from. How long have you been growing that beard, Tony, by the way?
I've had it for about, 14 years,
Wow. So,
but, it'll get to the point where I just cut some off.
yeah,
It never gets much longer than it is now.
no, it's it's definitely it's you. So I remember our colleague who also had a semi-long beard, not quite that long, said, "Hey, we're ZZ Top." So speaking of ZZ Top, right? So
Yep.
they commissioned this Billy Gibbons, this cherry red hot rod that became a global pop culture phenomenon, and it was a 1933 Ford Coupe, and it had a interesting engine, rival engine under the hood, not uncommon for those hot rods. So what was the name of the car and what type of engine was in it?
Well, I can tell you the name of the car was Eliminator,
Correct.
and if I had to guess, I would say it was probably a 350 small block Chevy.
Correct again.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that, but it was
Yeah.
just a guess because that's what
Yeah.
they did.
And yeah, that car was on the front that was the picture on ZZ Top Eliminator album, correct?
I believe so.
And I believe it was in several MTV videos, including Give Me All Your Loving, Sharp Dressed Men, and Legs. So, and I learned that today that original car is housed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. So, definitely inspired a lot of people. I'm sure that is a really neat car. And ZZ Top was known for their over-the-top hot rods. So,
I prefer Catzilla myself.
I was thinking about Cadzilla. That's the one that I remember. But we'll save that for another episode. And we'd love to have you back. But for now, as we gently steer the podcast into the off-ramp, I want to thank you, Tony Funk. You're a good work friend, and I've gotten to know you just a little bit better this way for sharing those stories and your love for these eclectic cars. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. And again, love to have you back as a co-host sometime or just to talk about some more of your cars. So,
Anytime.
Awesome. So you have just heard the high revving, low mileage, late model heard round the world, authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. And if you or someone you know has a great car story about their first cars, please drop us a line via email, stories@carslove.com, or via social media. The easiest way to find all of our info is via our link tree, linkt/cars. And I want to leave you with this passing thought. Telling car stories is contagious. Just go ahead and ask your friends, family, neighbors, or the owner of the next cool car about their first car memory and watch their reaction. We guarantee they will smile. And we will see you next time.